If you're only interested in the grammar section, skip ahead to this time. くれます to give 誕生日に友達がハンカチをくれました。直します to fix, to correct 鈴木さんは私の日本語をいつも直してくれます。連れて行きます to take A さんは B さんを渋谷に連れて行きます。But if you or someone else brings another person towards you, you want to use 連れてきます。For example, A さんは B さんを私の家に連れてきます。送ります。to send, to see someone off, to escort 姉を駅まで車で送りました。紹介します。to introduce A さんを B さんに紹介します。案内します。to show around, to show the way A さんに東京を案内します。おじいさん or slightly more casually, おじいちゃん。grandfather, old man おばあさん or slightly more casually, おばあちゃん。grandmother, old woman 説明 explanation 説明します to explain ルールを説明します。準備 preparation 準備します to prepare 準備はいいですか？プレゼンの準備をする。引っ越し moving to move as a verb is either 引っ越します or 引っ越しします。いつか日本に引っ越したいです。or いつか日本に引っ越ししたいです。お菓子お菓子 refers to any food consumed outside of regular meals for enjoyment rather than for nutrition. 全部 all, everything このお店のものは全部100円です。全部で in total 全部で1200円です。自分 oneself 自分の部屋自分のことが嫌いです。自分で by oneself 自分で日本語を勉強しました。他 another, other 今日は雨だから他の日に行きましょう。他に besides, else, in addition 他に何をしましたか？ Alright, let's move on to grammar. あげます。くれます。to give. もらいます。to receive. As we learned in lesson 7, agemasu means to give, and moraimasu means to receive. However, in Japanese, there is another way to say give, and that is kuremasu. Agemasu is used when you give something to someone else, and kuremasu is used when someone else gives something to you. Actually, it's a little bit more complicated than that. I'll explain the details later in this video. But for now, just remember, when you give someone else something, use agemasu. And when someone else gives you something, use kuremasu. Let's say your friend Sato-san gave you a pen. Sato-san gave a pen to me. Sato-san gave a pen. 佐藤さんはペンをくれました。to me 私に佐藤さんは私にペンをくれました。くれました should be used because someone else gave something to you. Do not use あげました。If you were to describe this transaction from your perspective, you could also say, I received the pen from Sato-san. Receive is easy because it's always もらいます。I received the pen. 私はペンをもらいました。from 佐藤さん。佐藤さんに。Yes, I know it feels a little strange, but the ni particle can mean to and from in this context. But から particle also means from, so 私は佐藤さんからペンをもらいました。It's also perfectly fine and common. Next, let's say this time you gave a pen to Sato-san. I gave a pen to Sato-san. 私は佐藤さんにペンをあげました。あげました should be used because you gave something to someone else. From Sato-san's perspective, Sato-san received the pen from me. 佐藤さんは私にペンをもらいました。This is grammatically correct, but compared to this version, it's not common at all. Because why are you talking from Sato-san's perspective when you were the one who gave it to her? Like, same in English, right? Saying I gave a pen to Sato-san is way more common and natural than saying Sato-san received a pen from me, right? So it's the same thing in Japanese. But these two are both equally natural. Sato-san gave a pen to me versus I received a pen from Sato-san. Yeah, either one sounds natural to me. Also, instead of the wa particle, ga particle is also fine, only if you really want to emphasize the subject of the sentence. Or, as you already know, omitting the information that's obvious from the context is also very common. So you can do that too. Now, these agemasu, kuremasu, moraimasu are used not only for objects, but also for actions. In Japanese, you can give or receive an action. By speaking that way, you can emphasize that the action was done for the benefit of the receiver. Here's how you structure a sentence. Verb in the te form plus agemasu, kuremasu, or moraimasu. Let's say Sato-san taught you Japanese. Sato-san taught me Japanese. Normally you would say, 佐藤さんは私に日本語を教えました。But if you want to add the nuance that Sato-san did it for my benefit, or I'm grateful for that, all you have to do is change the verb to the te form and add くれました。くれました should be used because someone else gave the action to you. You can also say the same thing using the verb receive, もらいます。However, you cannot just add もらいました because もらいました means to receive. And now this sentence is saying 佐藤さんはもらいました。佐藤さん received. But you received the action, right? So it should be 私はもらいました. So you want to build the sentence from scratch. I received X from Y is 私は Y さんに or Y さんから X をもらいました。I received X from 佐藤さん is 私は佐藤さんに X をもらいました。What you received is the action of teaching Japanese, which is 日本語を教えます。But it needs to be in the te form. So, 私は佐藤さんに日本語を教えてもらいました。That's it. And expresses pretty much the same nuance as this くれました version. Sato-san taught me Japanese for my benefit. I'm feeling thankful for that. So with もらいます, the structure should be receiver of the action, は doer of the action, に or から verb てもらいます. Next, let's say you taught Sato-san English this time. I taught English to Sato-san without any nuance is 私は佐藤さんに英語を教えました。But by saying 私は佐藤さんに英語を教えてあげました。Now it emphasizes that you did this for the benefit of the receiver, which in this case is 佐藤さん. Depending on the context, this could come across as a little patronizing, as you're placing focus on your own act of kindness in teaching Sato-san. And with てもらいます, you could say 佐藤さんは私に英語を教えてもらいました. People would understand what you're getting at, but nobody talks like this. Because it doesn't make much sense to speak from Sato-san's perspective when you are the one who performed the action. This version is way more common. Let's practice more. Let's say Sato-san took you to Shinjuku. Normally you would say 佐藤さんは私を新宿へ連れて行きました. But if you want to add the nuance that Sato-san did this for my benefit, and I feel thankful for that, you'd say 佐藤さんは私を新宿へ連れて行ってくれました. Now, I want to talk about this note from Minna no Nihongo. It says, and I quote, in a sentence using てあげます or てくれます, the particle that marks the person receiving the benefit is the same as in an equivalent sentence that does not use てあげます or てくれます. Let me explain what this note means. Regarding this sentence, a very common mistake that a lot of people make is 佐藤さんは私に新宿へ連れて行ってくれました. This is wrong. People make this mistake because when it was an object, it was 佐藤さんは私にペンをくれました. The receiver 私 is marked with the に particle. Therefore, people think it should be 私に. But how to make a てあげます or てくれます sentence is very simple. All you have to do is just say the original sentence and change the ending to the て form and attach くれます or あげます. That's it. Of course, if the original sentence is something like 佐藤さん taught me Japanese. 佐藤さんは私に日本語を教えました. 私 is already marked with the に particle. So it'd be 佐藤さんは私に日本語を教えてくれました. The に particle is used here only because it was already used in the original sentence. How would you say the sentence in the もらいます version? This note only applies to あげます and くれます. So, 私は佐藤さんに新宿へ連れて行ってもらいました. 私は佐藤さんに新宿へ連れて行ってもらいました. Alright, that's all for this grammar point. But earlier, I said あげます is used when you give something to someone else, and くれます when someone else gives something to you. But actually, there is more to it than that. To fully understand when we use あげます versus くれます, you have to understand the concept of 内 and 外. 内 literally means inside, and 外 literally means outside. Imagine yourself at the center, and there is a circle around you. The inside of the circle is 内, and the outside of the circle is 外. And here's the thing. When something good happens to people in 内, you also get a benefit. When something good happens to a member of your uchi, everyone in your uchi shares the benefit. That's the key difference between people in uchi versus those in soto. You can also think of this uchi circle as a community that you belong to. Now, here's the key point. I want you to remember this. Kuremasu is not only used when someone gives something directly to you, but also when someone from soto gives something to someone in your uchi. For example, from someone to your family member, like your sister. Or from a company to your company. Or from a country to your country. And also, this uchi community can be fluid. Imagine you see Sato-san on the street and you start a conversation with her. In that moment, the two of you form a temporary community, even if you're not that close to Sato-san. Like, you wouldn't want the person you're talking with to feel like they are outside your uchi, right? Now, let's say Sato-san is holding a bouquet. And if you want to ask, who gave the flowers to you? You should use くれます and say 誰がその花をくれましたか? If you say 誰がその花をあげましたか? It would sound very unnatural. Of course, 誰にその花をもらいましたか? Who did you receive the flowers from? Is also perfectly fine. I know this whole thing is a little bit confusing, but if you pay attention to how Japanese people speak, you'll gradually understand how this uchi and soto concept works. But for now, just remember, use くれます when someone gives something directly to you, or when someone from soto gives to someone in your uchi, and use あげます in all other cases. Alright, that's all for this video. 今日も最後まで見てくれて本当にありがとうございます。Patreon でいろんなコンテンツを上げているので、ぜひサポートしていただけると嬉しいです。じゃあ、またね。バイバイ。